How to save money without being a financial disaster. A reality check nobody asked for but you desperately need. Most people hear the word frugal and short-circuit immediately. They picture some joyless cheapskate eating plain rice in a dark apartment, clipping coupons with arthritic fingers, never going out, never having fun. And because that image is so unappealing, they decide frugality is not for them and go back to hemorrhaging money on things they do not remember buying 3 weeks later. Let me be direct with you. That is a dogshit way to think about it, and it is costing you dearly. Real frugality is not self-punishment. It is not deprivation. It is control, intentional, strategic, conscious control over where your money actually goes. Done right, it does not give you less life. It gives you more. So I am going to walk you through how to actually save money, how to build this mindset, and why the version of frugality most people imagine in their heads is completely wrong. I will cover how to reframe the whole concept, why a single dollar is far more powerful than you are treating it, why most people's saving attempts crash and burn, the right way to get frugal without losing your mind, where you are almost certainly bleeding money right now, how to make saving feel genuinely exciting, what all of this actually buys you at the end of the road. Let's get into it. And before we do, be honest with yourself. What is the one thing you are spending money on right now that you know deep down you could cut back on if you had any discipline at all? For me, it is eating out. I have promised myself 100 times I will meal prep, and then I absolutely do not. And suddenly I am paying $9 for a sad sandwich at noon. I am working on it. You probably have your own version of this. Sit with that. Here is the thing that frustrates me about how people talk about frugality. They confuse it with being cheap. And those are not even close to the same thing. Cheap is refusing to tip. Cheap is buying the worst possible version of everything to save $4. Frugality is something else entirely. It is about extracting maximum value from every dollar that passes through your hands. It is about being ruthlessly intentional. Looking at your spending, asking hard questions, and deciding with clear eyes what is actually worth your money and what is not. The broke mindset says being frugal is restrictive. But here is the part that should wake you up. Being broke is the most restrictive thing that exists. When you are broke, you do not have options. You cannot leave a bad job. You cannot handle a surprise expense without panic. You are stuck. Frugality, by contrast, is the tool that manufactures options. It is not a cage, it is a key. And once you flip that mental switch and start seeing intentional spending as the strategic move it actually is, money stops being a source of constant low-grade dread and starts being something you are actually directing. Now let me tell you something about dollar bills that I guarantee you are not taking seriously enough. And I say that without apology because the math proves it. If you are casually tossing $20 here, $50 there, $100 somewhere else without thinking twice, you are not just spending money. You are torching your future self's wealth. Here is the real math, courtesy of the Money Guy Show, which is a goldmine of financial clarity. If you are 20 years old and you invest a single dollar at 10% annually for 45 years, that dollar becomes $88. Not a typo. $88 from $1. So the next time you spend $100 on something stupid at 20 years old, you are not spending $100. You are spending $8,800 in future value. At 25, every dollar is still worth $44 by retirement. At 30, it is $23. Even at 40, the multiplier is still enormous. This is not me trying to guilt you into never enjoying your life. I want to be clear about that. The point is awareness. You are walking around making spending decisions with a blindfold on, and the multiplier is real whether or not you are paying attention to it. The next time you are about to drop money on something, I want that number in the back of your skull. Is this worth what it will actually cost me? Let me also tell you exactly why most people's attempts at saving collapse like a three-legged hippo trying to sprint, because understanding the failure mode is half the battle. The most common mistake is going from 0 to 100 overnight, or rather, from normal spending straight to monk-level austerity. People decide on a Tuesday that they are done with waste, cut literally everything enjoyable out of their lives simultaneously, feel miserable by Thursday, cave completely by the following weekend. That is not discipline failing. That is a terrible strategy failing. Gradual reduction works. Cold turkey financial starvation does not. The second reason people fail is that they are saving with no destination in mind. They are not saving for anything. Not an emergency fund, not a house, not a brokerage account, not a specific goal. They are just saving because they feel vaguely guilty about not saving. And saving without a why feels exactly like sacrifice with no payoff, which is a motivation that evaporates almost immediately. When you can see the scoreboard, when the number in your savings account is going up, and you know exactly what it is going toward, saving starts to feel like winning. Without that, it just feels like losing enjoyment for no reason. If your system is not built on a goal and a sustainable pace, it is already dead. That is not a harsh opinion. That is just how humans work. So what is the actual right way to build frugality that sticks? Step 1, sit down and ruthlessly audit your low-value spending. These are the purchases that are purely habitual, the ones you barely notice making and would barely notice stopping. The energy drink on the way into work, the random snack at the gas station, the thing you picked up because you drove past the store and the parking lot was right there. Individually, $4, $7, $5. Whatever, it feels like nothing. But if you are doing it 4 or 5 times a week, you are absolutely bleeding out in slow motion. Death by 1,000 cuts is the most accurate description of how most people wreck their finances, and the cuts are all small enough that nobody wants to take them seriously. Once you factor in the money multiplier, the 88x or 44x, depending on your age, those mindless purchases are not small at all. Identify them, write them down, stare at them. Step 2, and this is where I see people go wrong when they try to get frugal. Do not gut your high-value spending. The things that actually improve your life, the gym membership that keeps you sane, the streaming service you genuinely watch, the one subscription that you use constantly and look forward to. Keep those. Punish yourself by ripping out everything enjoyable in the name of frugality. That is how you end up miserable and then give up entirely. The goal is surgical precision, not scorched earth. What you do not value. Protect what you do. The difference between those two categories is something only you can honestly answer, which is exactly why this requires real self-examination rather than a generic list from someone on the internet. Step 3 is about creating margin, the gap between money in and money out. That gap is not just savings. That gap is leverage. That gap is the raw material of every option you will ever want in your financial life. Even recovering $50 a week by eliminating low-value habits puts $2,600 back in your pocket annually. Think about that differently for a second. If someone walked up to you and said, "Stop doing this one thing, and I will hand you $2,600 every year," you would say yes immediately. You would not even hesitate. That is the offer on the table. You are just too close to the daily spending to see it. And another mindset trick that rewired the way I look at money, figure out your hourly rate. If you make $60,000 a year, divide by 50 weeks, then divide by 40 hours. You are making roughly $28 to $29 an hour. Now, the next time you are about to drop $60 on something impulsive, ask yourself, would I work 2 hours for this? Is this experience, this object, this purchase worth 2 hours of my life that I traded for it? For a lot of the garbage people buy impulsively, the honest answer is no. Reframe alone. Time instead of dollars has a way of making a lot of spending feel exactly as dog water as it actually is. Now let me walk you through where most people genuinely torching their money, because I promise at least one of these will hit home. First, eating out constantly. This is the motherlode of unnecessary spending for the average person. A few dollars here, $15 there, $20 on a night out. Do it several times a week, and you are looking at $200 to $400 a month going straight into someone else's register. Cooking at home is almost always dramatically cheaper. And I say this while simultaneously admitting I need to hear it myself. I am not exempt from this one. If eating out is your thing, fine. Keep it as high-value spending. If you are eating out mindlessly just because it is easier and you cannot be bothered to cook, that is a habit worth interrogating hard. Second, and this one is brutal for a lot of people, the car payment. If you are earning $60,000 a year and your car payment is $800, $900, or $1,000 a month, you have made a catastrophically bad financial decision and you need to sit with that. Multiply that monthly payment by 12. Now look at that annual number as a percentage of your gross income. If it is anywhere north of 15 to 20%, you are strangling your financial life with a car, a depreciating asset, something that loses value the moment you drive it off the lot. I understand that cars feel important, that a nice car feels like success, that the dealership made it very easy to say yes, and an $800 monthly payment on a $55,000 salary is not a flex. It is a financial anchor dragging you down every single month. Whether that means aggressively paying it off, refinancing, or making a hard decision about a cheaper vehicle, something needs to change because that number is eating the margin where your wealth was supposed to go. Third, subscription stacking. This one sneaks up on everyone because each individual charge feels tiny. Spotify, $12. Netflix, $18. Gym, $50. Xbox Game Pass, whatever it costs. Peacock, Hulu, and some other app you signed up for during a free trial and completely forgot about. Add it all up and a shocking number of people are spending $100, $150, sometimes $200 a month on subscriptions, many of which they have not actively used in weeks. This is not a goldmine waiting to be found. It is just money sitting in a drain. Spend 20 minutes pulling up your bank statement and go line by line. Every recurring charge gets evaluated. Do you use it regularly and it genuinely improves your life? Keep it. Cannot remember the last time you opened it? Cancel it today. That 20 minutes could easily reclaim $50 to $100 a month. Fourth, impulse buying. The 3 a.m. Amazon spiral. The "I'll just take a quick look" that turns into a cart with 6 items in it. The "I deserve this" logic applied to something you will use twice and forget about. The question you need to tattoo somewhere visible is this: Do you want it? Or do you need it? Distinction is not about denying yourself all wants. It is about catching the pattern when every purchase is a want, wants on top of wants with no real need in sight, because that is a very reliable sign that you are spending on autopilot. The fix is not self-denial for its own sake. It is a brief pause before clicking buy. If you still want it 24 hours later, maybe you buy it. If you forgot about it by morning, you just saved yourself money and proved my point. Fifth, and this is one I want people to really hear, moving out before you are financially ready to do so. There is enormous social pressure, especially in your early and mid-20s, to be independent, to have your own place, to perform adulthood at full volume on social media. I get it. But if living alone means your rent is consuming 40 or 50% of your take-home income, and utilities and groceries pile on top of that, you are not demonstrating independence. You are demonstrating that you are willing to blow up your financial foundation to look a certain way to people who are not paying your bills. Having roommates is not a failure. Living with family while you build savings is not something to be embarrassed about. Moving out before you are ready, ending up in financial distress, and then having to move back home anyway, is the outcome you are trying to avoid. Give yourself permission to be patient. Your financial position matters more than your timeline matching someone else's idea of what your 20s should look like. Now here is something nobody tells you enough. Saving can actually become exciting, and I mean that without a shred of irony. It does not start that way. In the beginning, it requires genuine delayed gratification, which is a muscle most of us have let atrophy badly. But once you start tracking the number, even just writing it down in a notebook, January to February to March, watching it climb, something shifts. The scoreboard becomes motivating in a way that spending never quite is, because spending gives you a brief dopamine hit that dissolves instantly, while a growing savings balance gives you something that compounds. What I found as I got more intentional about money was that watching my investment account grow started to feel genuinely more satisfying than buying things I did not need. That sounds boring when someone else says it. It stops sounding boring when you are the one watching your net worth climb. And the freedom it generates is not abstract. It is real and immediate. Brutal boss becomes easier to tolerate when you have a substantial cash cushion and know you could walk. A layoff becomes manageable instead of catastrophic. A bad month becomes a bump instead of a crisis. Is what the money actually buys you? Options and the absence of panic. And that brings me to the final point, which is what frugality is really purchasing you over the long haul. It is not just a savings account number. It is freedom, the genuine, life-altering kind. It is flexibility to take risks other people cannot afford to take. It is the ability to leave situations that are bad for you without financial terror forcing you to stay. It is, if you invest consistently enough, the option to stop working entirely, years before most people even consider it, while everyone around you is still grinding through decades of the rat race. That is a return that no subscription, no impulse purchase, no luxury car payment ever comes close to delivering. So let me be direct one final time. Frugality is not suffering. It is not deprivation. It is not some extreme lifestyle choice for people who hate fun. It is intention. It is control. Your money should be working for you and under your direction, not evaporating into habits you barely notice while your future self falls further behind. You do not have to go scorched earth. You just have to start somewhere, cut the low-value bullshit, protect the things that actually matter, and stay consistent over time. The people who win financially are almost never the highest earners in the room. They are the ones who keep the most of what they earn and put it to work early. That is it. That is the whole game. With all that said, start your frugal journey today. Hope you all the best. I've been Alex, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.